Okay, you are live.
Okay, good morning, everyone, and welcome to our first Parks and Playground Committee meeting of 2021. I'm Samantha Turner, your chairwoman, Third Ward City Council, and I'm going to do the attendance. If you are not in the city and you are a community member or a member from First, I'm gonna ask you to unmute yourself quickly and say your organization affiliation for the record. And after that, we will proceed with our agenda. So first, we have myself, Samantha Turner, Third Ward City Councilwoman, Jennifer Ozinger, clerk for Youngstown City Council, Troy Rhodes for First Energy, Pamela Allen Fitzgerald, Love Thy Neighbor Block Watch, Anderson Ferguson. Your organization affiliation, please.
Andrew, yeah, First Energy.
First Energy, thank you very much. Anita Davis, Sixth Ward City Councilwoman, Dana Lance, Deputy Law Director, Devin Flavin, First Energy, Julius Oliver, First Ward City Councilman, Kevin Tarpley, Youngstown Park and Recreation, Lauren McNally, Fifth Ward City Councilwoman, Lola Lewis, your organization affiliation.
Yes, I'm with ODNR Division of Forestry. I am the Regional Urban Forester for Mahoney County.
Thank you very much. Michael Demis. Your organization.
Yes, I'm with First Energy.
First Energy. Robert Madry, your organization affiliation.
First Energy.
Thank you. Scott Humphreys, your organization affiliation.
First Energy.
Thank you. Valencia Morrow, head clerk for Youngstown City Council. Yvonne Irving, your organization affiliation.
I'm with the Lincoln Park Eastern Gateway organization.
Thank you very much. And Hunter Morrison, I'm City of Youngstown planning contractor. Did I miss anyone? Great. With that, we will begin our agenda. The first item is the Lincoln Park Riverbend update. This is coming from First Energy. I will invite up those to give an introduction and to proceed with that program.
Thank you. To the chair. My name is Troy Rhodes. I'm with Ohio Edison First Energy. I'm the External Affairs Regional Consultant for the City of Youngstown. I deal with local, I'm your conduit between the Ohio Edison with any utility questions that you may have. And this morning I bring a team together, Andrew, Robert, Devin, Mike, and Scott Humphreys to discuss with the Parks and Playgrounds Committee the upcoming project between the Lincoln Park Riverbend transmission line project. This project is tentatively scheduled for 22 to begin, I believe. Scott will review that. At this time, to the chair, I will pass this on to Scott Humphreys, who will review the program or project with everybody on the call. I hope that for, at least from the council's member standpoint, they've received information in the past.
Parks Committee call on their power line.
Hunter, you're on speaker, so just so you know. To council that they've had this information. What we will do, because of the time frame this morning, to the chair, is we will limit this conversation to the Mckelvey Lake and the Lincoln Park area. So with that being said, I'd like to pass it on to Scott, and he'll take over.
Through the chair.
Scott, yeah. Councilman Oliver?
Yeah, just, I don't want to add any additional time, but I would like to hear what part of this is running through the first ward, if I could. If we have to have that conversation at another meeting or at another time, that's understandable.
Yes, Councilman Oliver, we can, if there is more questions, add another meeting and see the blueprints that are laid out for how this is going to affect citywide. There is a part of the first ward, third ward, most of our wards, I think with the exception of Councilman Davis and Councilman McNally's ward, but a lot of the work will start in Lincoln Park area and run through Mckelvey Lake. But if Troy, if we could, we'll put that on the calendar to get the exact blueprints of where those lines will be updated and corrected. Troy?
To the chair, absolutely.
Thank you. Scott?
Thank you, everyone. I am going to share my screen right now. Let me know when you can see it.
We're good. Thank you.
All right, great. I want to take just a brief second. I appreciate everyone's time and allowing the First Energy.
I'm sorry, Scott.
Yep, I was going to say his audio is a little bad. I'm sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
All right. Is that any better?
Yes, that's a lot better. Thank you.
Okay. I want to take a moment just to thank everyone for the opportunity to present this project in relation to Lincoln Park and Mckelvey Lake. So you should have received the slide deck that I'm going to go through that I'm showing right now. This is a reduced slide deck that was on our website for the virtual public presentation. So this focuses solely on the Lincoln Park area. In regards to Mckelvey Lake, before we start, the existing transmission lines that go into Lincoln Park substation are the electrical facilities that Ohio Edison and First Energy own in the Mckelvey Lake area. Part of this project, those will not be touched. This is really between the Lincoln Park substation and the Riverbend substation. All right. So just a brief overview. As I said, the Lincoln Park substation here near Mckelvey Lake, if you can see my cursor, the lines coming in from the east are already existing facilities and will not be disturbed for this project. The proposed project's roughly an approximate 5-mile long transmission line between Lincoln Park substation and Riverbend substation. Depending on which route is ultimately built, since we had to provide 2 possible alternatives to the Ohio Power Siting Board, it's roughly 5 to 5.5, maybe 6 miles, just depending on total distance. In addition to the transmission line that will extend between the 2 substations, we're going to do some upgrades at the existing substations themselves. The overall objective of the project, why are we doing this? The needs and the benefit. I'm going to take a moment to go back to this map here. Right now, Lincoln Park substation and Riverbend substation are fed radially, radially, meaning from one direction. Same with Riverbend. Should, for some reason, these lines go out, Lincoln Park substation's an island, and everything being fed off of that substation loses power. Same thing with Riverbend. Should the lines that feed the Riverbend substation go out, the facilities connected to Riverbend lose power. So what we're trying to do is complete a circuit, extend a line between the 2 so that if, say, Lincoln Park substation, the lines feeding it from the east go out, it has a backup from the west coming from Riverbend that will keep Lincoln Park and all associated facilities connected to that substation up and running. Likewise, for the Riverbend substations, should the same occurrence happen, the same result will happen. So ultimately, it's a second 138 source to both the Lincoln Park and Riverbend substations. It's going to improve the overall transmission system reliability. It's also going to support the 23 kV system that are connected to the 2 substations. I mentioned anything that's connected to it either loses power or stays online. And that's the 23 kV system. As you can see, it serves thousands of customers in notable institutions such as St. Elizabeth Hospital, Youngstown State University, and pretty much all industrial, commercial, everything within this downtown area. It's going to reduce outages and recovery time for people that do lose power. And it's going to alleviate the voltage concerns in Councilman Oliver, you had asked about Ward 1. This is really going to address voltage concerns in Ward 1 and Ward 2. So what does this mean for the Parks Commission? And that's the focus of this meeting. On the screen right now is an overview map of Lincoln Park and our proposed route that affects Lincoln Park. So north is to the top, south is to the bottom. And I just want to give this overview so you could see the, everything at once, and we'll delve into the sections here. Starting at the southern section, which is right around here. We're coming up from the General River Railroad corridor and coming north. Here we're skirting the outside of this particular property line that's in gray. The yellow lines there are lines indicating a 65-foot wide corridor. And what that corridor is, that is the space that is required for a transmission line of 138,000 volts at this design to safely and reliably carry electricity. What does that mean for the park itself? And I'll answer that in a minute. As we continue to go up here, it's still uniform 65 feet. So across that, the whole park is going to be a 65-foot wide right-of-way. This route has been chosen, chosen and redefined since our initial public information meetings near the end of 2019. For anyone that may have attended, you may notice that the line looks slightly different back then. And through a series of field evaluations, field surveys, and desktop review, the terrain, as most of you know through here, and you can see it through this aerial photo, is a bit of a valley going through here. It says dry run. So you have steep inclines here through the majority of the backside of the park, steeper inclines. You can see that there's a dry run going all the way down. So to avoid considerable construction challenges, and more importantly, to avoid considerable impacts to the park, we realigned the potential route as to what you see here on the screen. And once we exit the northern part of the park, we meet up with Oak Street, and at one point we overlap with an existing, I believe it's a 23 kV line that we would overbuild the transmission line on top of. So they would occupy the same center line. So back to the 65-foot wide right-of-way that I mentioned. What does that mean to the park or to the public? Oftentimes people consider a transmission line as a devastating addition or impact to a landscape. And that's actually quite the contrary. What the transmission line does is we'll go through, and you can see here on this picture on the left, this is a representative photo of a transmission line going through similar vegetation. Yes, we need to clear trees for the right-of-way. However, we don't keep it barren along the right-of-way. Vegetation, compatible vegetation that doesn't pose a threat to the system or possibly come into contact with the lines is allowed to grow back. So there are many benefits to that. First Energy's instituted many environmental stewardship programs that combine our existing right-of-ways with goals of environmental communities, pollinator gardens. In other parts of our footprint, universities have used our right-of-ways as research and development for agricultural practices. So that's one view. This structure that you see here is representative of a wood pole structure that will be utilized in the park system. The middle photo here is another wood pole structure. Now, whether or not this particular structure will be used is based on the design. I just wanted to show this as it's representative of a wood pole structure with the transmission line on it. But it also shows that aside from our vegetative practices, we also can cohabitate in a groomed or well taken care of area, maybe as baseball fields or open fields of meadow, things of that nature. The third photo on the right-hand side is a steel monopole. This is representative of the structure look and type, not representative of the size. Due to COVID, I was not able to capture a good photo, so I'm using a photo of another one of our lines, but this really shows the profile of what you're going to see. First Energy is not in the business of building the big steel lattice towers that look like an erector set. Those are old technology. We're all about putting in facilities that reduce impact, but still get the job done. As you can see, the footprint of these actual structures is very limited. So the Lincoln Park portion of this project is going to see a combination of these structures. Vegetation management. I mentioned this a moment ago. So what you're seeing here in this picture, which kind of really takes the attention of this slide, is we have existing lines or new lines in vegetative places, very similar to Lincoln Park, that not only coexist and are cohabitable, but actually allow the environment to thrive. People say, well, how can that be? You're cutting down trees. Yes, there is vegetation removal for a line, but with that comes new growth and reintroduction of species of vegetation that may not have been there due to the old growth forest or the forest growing up and not allowing the underbelly to grow. It also shows we don't maintain a barren, destructed looking wasteland. We allow nature to resume its natural course. Just a quick anecdote, a transmission line that we have within the First Energy footprint in Ohio, upon doing some work, we found out through the Ohio Department of Natural Resources, and the name escapes me of the orchid, but an endangered species orchid was growing along our transmission line. And through their research, the only reason it was growing is because of our transmission line. So case in point, removal of certain vegetation allowed this, I think it's the prairie fringed orchid comes to mind, allowed that to grow. So there is reintroduction of maybe almost extinct species of vegetation. So there's the vegetation management not only ensures our electric system reliability, but it's a responsible, sustainable program that we've employed over the span of our footprint and has been quite successful. I may have gone fast, but in the interest of time, I did want to hit the highlights. I don't know if anyone on the call has questions. If time allows, we can attempt to answer them now, or we can put them on a parking lot board and get the answers back to the group. But either way, I appreciate the time and opportunity from the whole commission and all attendees for allowing me to speak. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Scott, for that information. I'll ask the committee as he pulls down his screen. Is anyone on the committee have any questions? Anita?
Yes. You mentioned at the beginning that this project is going to hit all the wards except for 5 and 6. And what happened? Are we not part of that system, that grid area? And is our substations up to snuff?
I believe that was
Scott? Is that Scott?
Yes, sorry, Scott Humphreys speaking. I believe it was Commissioner Turner that had mentioned all the wards that it would be hitting. And the fact that it's not going through 5 and 6, it just physically will not be in those wards if those are correct. And I apologize, I don't have the layout in front of me with the ward map. Wards 5 and 6, the whole area that I showed on the overall view slide are going to receive the benefit of this project. It just may not physically be going through your particular ward.
Okay. Thank you.
Everything in the Youngstown area that we showed is electrically connected. So if it's not physically on property within your particular ward, there will be a reinforcement benefit that you'll see off the 23 kV system.
Anita?
Yeah, follow up. Well, I'm just out of, I think I'm unmuted. So like if a substation goes down in one side of town, are these able to like act as a backup to the other substations?
Scott Humphrey speaking again. Yes, that's a general way to look at it. The local distribution substations that you may see on a corner lot in a neighborhood or maybe downtown by a particular business, those serve the immediate loads. The two substations I showed on the original map, the Lincoln Park substation and the Riverbend substation, if you think of it in terms of water, which is easier and more applicable to everyday life, consider those two reservoirs. If one of those gets drained, the people that get their drinking water off that don't have any more water. Likewise on the other one. However, if we create a piping system that carries the water between the two, that problem's eliminated. So that's what our transmission line is going to do, is carry the electricity between the two substations to avoid the particular incident that you're referring to.
Thank you. Councilman Oliver?
Yeah, so Scott, quick question. I understand the object of the project, but is there anything else that we need to know about the project? Like, is there something big coming we need to be able to feed, or is it simply upgrading the infrastructure so we don't have such a lag or a drag on the system?
Scott Humphrey speaking again. Thank you for the question. It is just the latter. It is a reliability enhancement project. As far as the project's concerned, there are no identified big ticket items coming in that would require the electricity. It is simply to provide better service, which is the charge of Ohio Edison.
And follow up through Chair.
Thank you, Julius.
So I know there's a lot of concerns about power lines, being close to residential and the effects that can have. Are you guys worried about any type of health issues or anything of that nature?
Scott Humphrey speaking again.
Thank you, Scott.
Regarding that topic, health concerns, health issues, electromagnetic fields, a lot of research has been done over the past 30 years. To say it's inconclusive is accurate, but for every article or research that you see that says electric lines, the EMFs that they put off are bad, you have the exact same number of articles that say there's no evidence that shows that. The 65-foot wide right-of-way is the required amount for a line of this voltage to, one, keep growth and buildings from encroaching on the right-of-way and touching the electric lines. So you have your physical health safety. The non-physical health safety, which would be your EMFs in that, is such that it's designed with the location of the line and the right-of-way that any EMFs that are produced by line dissipate by the edge of the right-of-way. EMFs are a real and constantly occurring thing. As you may or may not know, the Earth produces both magnetic and electric fields. I see some of you are sitting in maybe government offices right now, possibly with fluorescent lights above your head. If you're on a floor that's in between two other floors that have fluorescent lights, you are now encompassed by more EMFs than this particular transmission line will put off. EMFs are measured in milligauss, and I'm not going to get into the depth of it, but what our readings and our modeling shows is in our actual readings post-construction, the amount of electric magnetic fields that you find after transmission line are lower than general usage household items like your microwave, your hair dryer, the lighting that I mentioned. So we're constantly in contact with this already at higher levels than is normally seen with transmission lines. So to answer your question after the long drawn out explanation is, no, we're not concerned, nor do we believe they present health hazards.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So I don't need to turn my lights off right now.
Well, no, and honestly, that's a great question. Sorry, Scott, speaking again. It's, I don't want to say it's misconception. I think there's just so many varying viewpoints on this topic, and really whose agenda is pushing it. And one thing I tell, and I told people at the public information meeting that we had at the historical museum was, you know, do your own research if you're uncomfortable with the answer I'm giving. And this is something that you could pass along, but be careful of who's presenting that information. Is it the electric industry? Is it someone with a malicious agenda that has maybe some other type of thing? It's like anything else. Know what you're researching, but short answer is no concerns. It's around us already. No real concerns from our company.
Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. If none of my colleagues have any more questions, I'll take the final question here from Mr. Tarpley.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Through you to Mr. Humphreys or Mr. Rhodes. They've indicated that First Energy would be open to sustainability projects as well as environmental impact projects. My question on behalf of the director, because she is in the process of looking at Lincoln Park and as well as other parks, would they be willing to provide resources and support and be open to, and for the record, for this particular committee as well, be open to committing to being a part of that process financially to support making sure that there is no impact on wildlife, that there is an ability for sustainability in terms of endangered wildlife that migrate through Lincoln Park, maybe along that path of those new installations, and also be willing to participate in that planning process and indicate how they are and what they're willing to support.
It's a great question. Sorry, Scott Humphrey speaking again. I can't comment on commitment from the company. That's just above my decision-making level. However, I will comment on part of our due diligence with the Ohio Power Siting Board process to answer your question regarding possibility of a threatened endangered species. We do extensive research, so much as so getting a independent third party to go out and do our environmental surveys. Through this, we provide what we find, as well as additional inquiries to the Ohio Department of Natural Resources, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, other environmental groups like that. And they come back with what they believe or know that's in the area. So we just don't go in with reckless abandon and build our line. The upfront preparatory steps of research and knowing as many impacts as we can prior to anything is actually part of our requirement with the Ohio Power Siting Board prior to them even making a ruling on the case. So we do work closely with the communities that we build in. We do put in environmental restrictions that may, if there is a threatened or endangered species in the area, we put in the necessary protective measures so that they are not impacted, which in some parts of the state, the eastern rattler, the Massasauga, is an endangered snake. We've had people walk in front of every piece of construction equipment looking at the ground for the snake. So we call them snake herders. They physically walk in front of everything. We have people go in, and if there's endangered species of turtles or other animals, we've had them gone in, identified the areas where they are at, put up orange construction fencing or some other type of protective barrier, and stay out of there as much as possible. So there are measures that are implemented, and that is the basis for our due diligence for environmental impacts. Beyond that, I'm sure First Energy has programs in place from our environmental group that go above and beyond that, and I'm sure we could provide information at some point on that.
Madam Chairman, just to follow up.
one moment. We're going to, we're having a little bit of audio issues. So just so you know, we might freeze a little bit. We just had a freeze, or I just saw. So there's some audio issues. And if you can point this last question, Mr. Tarpley, that would be great. And then we will proceed in scheduling a more robust meeting so that all the council can see the broader picture of this, of the effects of this project. Mr. Tarpley?
Yes, ma'am. It's just a request on behalf of the director of the department that if he or someone could take this particular issue back to the authorities that have the power to make a commitment in writing to the city Parks and Recreation Department as to the impact, and then the follow-up for ensuring that those measures are met. That would be my request on behalf of the director.
Thank you, Mr. Tarpley. Troy, you received that information. He's our direct contact. And I see Councilwoman Davis has another question. Go ahead.
Yes, what is Mr. Tarpley's role? What agency, organization is he representing? You just froze. Hello? Or did I freeze?
I believe Samantha froze, Anita.
Okay.
Everybody else looks live to me. Oh, Samantha, are you back? Okay.
I'm back.
Go ahead.
Okay. He is with the Parks and Recs Department.
Park and Rec Department.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. With that, thank you so much, Troy and First Energy team, for providing us with a quality update about Lincoln Park. We look forward to scheduling another meeting as requested by Councilman Oliver to see the broad scope of this and the blueprint of how it affects the city as a whole. That would be great, and we can do more Q&A at that time. With that, we're going to move into the next, and it's just the plan of action for the Parks Department. I'm going to invite Mr. Tarpley, who is stepping in for Dawn today, who is out due to an emergency, to give us how the parks are planning to reopen this spring. Mr. Tarpley?
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, I want to read a message from the director, Director Turnage. Her message is: our parks, the pool, the golf course, our walking trails and recreational programming are essential and key ingredients to the quality of life that makes living in our city so special. And that this is particularly true during these times of the pandemic. In Parks and Recreation in 2020, it taught us that we must find ways not to just maintain what we have, but to advance our park system and to meet the now new needs of our community. Until further notice, the Parks and Recreation Department will continue to temporarily operate with reduced staff and other resources due to COVID-19, which also results in the reduction, moderation, or suspension of some services. This is necessary due to the impact of the federal, state, local COVID-related safety rules and regulations. Until further notice, Youngstown remains open, not as a gathering place, but as a place to recreate responsibly according to the Governor's Office for the State of Ohio, our CDC, and our local health department guidelines. Again, in Parks and Recreation in 2020, it has taught us that we must find new ways on how to address our new needs. Going forward, what will Parks and Recreation engagement look like? Opening of rental reservations, additional education, safety reminders that reinforce the point that we must all still do our part, even in the midst of social situations, of creating tentative steps to reopen, expectations to reopen April and May 2021, pending approval according to the CDC guidelines, our State of Ohio Governor guidelines, and the guidelines from our local health department under the leadership guidelines of our mayor. This reopening plan will include all rental pavilion locations and field permits. redevelopment of the 2013 park plan to include providing recommendations from continuous development improvements and the evaluation of program and services. This will allow us to reinforce the expectation that we will meet standards of excellence already in the beginning of those. We are already in the beginning of those stages now. 2021 summer camp and summer feeding program. Enrollment is to begin in May 2021 with the goal of the camp starting date of June 8th, 2021, pending approval again due to COVID. Aquatics, capital improvement of the bathhouse and the pool amenities, safe return to Learn to Swim program in collaboration with the downtown YMCA. Again, the expectation is to reopen June 21st. Athletics, development of Parks and Recreation Sports League, organized sports teams, league, and playing program opportunity for all ages is underway. Community recreation and events, a progressive framework that will provide a balance between young and old, tradition and innovation, and the needs of one versus the needs of the many. This means music, jazz in the park. More details are coming on that soon. New program and park activities, all based on approval due to COVID-19. Opening of Community Resource Center. Repurpose of the section of the summer camp office that will be shared with the community as a meeting place, a stronger partnership between community groups and organizations, and volunteers that efficiently support public space. Tentative opening is June 21. Excuse me for a second. Excuse me, guys. Gentlemen. All right, can you hear me, Madam Chair? I'm sorry, we have some folks.
We can hear you loud and clear, Mr. Tarpley.
Okay. Development of volunteers in a park program. Allow individuals to play an active role in helping to protect as well as provide a unique opportunity to contribute to the important work being done throughout the department. Innovation and sustainability. Seeking out ideas that have a lasting positive impact on our work community and environment. Ethics and integrity. Our actions and reactions will make a difference in maintaining the trust and confidence of the people. Those are where we're at in terms of moving the department forward for 2021.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I apologize for that.
Thank you. If you could mute your microphone while we take questions, Mr. Tarpley.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much. I'll take the first question from Councilwoman McNally.
Thank you for the update. I didn't hear anything about just maintenance and grass cutting and all of those types of responsibilities that the Parks Department handles. And I know last year we really struggled with that. So have you started hiring your part-time help, getting your schedule together for cutting and maintaining the properties? Because it's more than just the parks that I know the Parks Department has to maintain. And I don't want a repeat of last summer.
Mr. Tarpley, are you able to answer that question?
Yes, ma'am, through the chair. I will, Councilwoman McNally, what I will do is take down the things that are brought up that are not on this particular report from the director, and I would bring it to her attention and ask her to follow up with you on that item.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Oliver?
Yeah, thank you, through the chair. Kevin, to Councilwoman McNally's point, do we have a plan to step up our maintenance of the parks as far as doing things like edging around fences, just making our parks look a little neater? And the second question is, I've been working with the director for about 3 years now on trying to upgrade the lighting and upgrade Halls Park. without much success. So are there any plans for Falls Park, in a way that we've done other parks as far as revitalizing them?
Mr. Tarpley, are you able to answer that question?
Yes, Councilman, that speaks to the point that when she laid out here on the redevelopment of the 2013 park plan, which includes Falls Park. There is a process underway right now to get folks involved in addressing the needs of all of the city parks and how we can upgrade them. So yes, sir, that is in place.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
If I have no more questions, I want to say thank you to Mr. Tarpley for providing the update, the spring 2021 opening, and I believe the director's update for going forward. If we have additional questions, the question in regards to hiring and more specifically to Falls Park, we'll get those to the director and have her respond in writing to everyone about that. And if needs be, we'll have that on our next month's agenda as well to ensure that those items are moving forward. With that, I'll move into the next agenda item, and that is the Mckelvey Lake and Subcommittee report. So as we all know, this, there's another question. Anita Davis?
No, through the chair, I will be leaving the meeting. I have to attend to something else. Just want to advise to the committee members. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Oliver?
Thank you, through the chair. I think it was a question in the chat from one of the block watch captains. I don't know if you wanted to address it now or at another time.
Let's see here. Maintenance. Okay, so I will, I can answer this question. This is from Ms. Reynolds, and in the event that she was not here when we began, Bobby Reynolds joined the meeting from Northeast Ohio, Northeast Homeowners Association, and also Ms. Sybil West from the Bennington Block Watch Group. Just to the summer employment does help that comes through that receives CDBG dollars. And I did hear from Dawn yesterday that applications are currently out for the part-time hiring for we do with kids and with the park system. So yes, they all help, but we definitely maybe want to hear a plan from Dawn about how we use them most efficiently so we don't run into the issues that we had last year, like Councilwoman McNally said. Is there any other questions that I'm missing? I have multiple screens. Okay, with that, I'm going to go ahead and move into Mckelvey Lake. As you know, the city's in the process of acquiring Mckelvey Lake, and work is being done to build kind of preliminary movement toward how we develop that area. The committee had been broken down into 3 subcommittees. One is preservation, recreation, and development. One that myself and Director Don Turnett sit on is recreation. Most of the land around that was owned by Aqua Ohio is deemed only for recreation. So we're just beginning stages of looking at how that moves forward. And I just want to give you guys a quick update on some things that have come out of our first meeting. There's a possible program list of what it could look like. And just to run off a few, it's of course fishing and boating, gaming, hiking, picnic area. Want to consider parking, and then community resource center that includes some dining and restroom options and shade. Phases of the project the first thing that needs to be done is an ecological survey. Over on the east side, there's a lot of wetlands. So figuring out what is wetland, what can be used, what we can do, what's actual usable area, what we can do with that. The acquisition of land that's around Mckelvey, if that needs to be done. A heavy focus on preservation of the local wildlife and the foliage and vegetation that is around the park. And finally, what's the full community effect and if there's a possibility for residential development. So those are some of the proposed phases that we would work through. Our goals in the next coming months is really to see what it looks like work with some of the neighboring community organizations and work with the community as well to see what they would like to see have happen. Also, there are numerous cities across the state, our size and larger, that operate lakes, and we want to see what they're doing and how they've been able to survive and thrive in their park system. And we also want to look at the land that is between the Supermax that's out on the east side and Mckelvey Lake and what the usage of that could be. We've listed some possible partners, of course, our neighborhood groups, Ohio Edison or First Energy, and Milk Creek Park as partners in the development of the recreational area. So that's just an overview of what we've started looking at for Mckelvey Lake. Next things that are to come is we're going to start opening up and having some community discussions and seeing what those neighbors want to see happen and what the community would like to see happen. And then, of course, again, reaching outward and seeing how cities have dealt with acquiring lakes and what they're doing around the lakes. So there's a lot more information to come on that, but we just wanted to provide you with an update on where we're going with that, and we'll continue to keep you abreast on it. Any questions in regards to the Mckelvey Lake project? If I have no questions, I am going to move into unfinished business with Attorney Deputy Law Director Dana Lance, who will give us a legal update on the tree ordinance that we are currently working on.
Thank you, Councilwoman Turner. As the committee knows, during the December meeting, there was a discussion regarding trees and the tree committee that is being put together, and there was a lot of talk about a commission. After that meeting, I had the opportunity to talk to Dawn at length, the director at length, and Councilwoman Turner to kind of get to the issue that we were discussing so that I was on the right page. So what they were discussing, what we were looking at that meeting was the Shade Tree Commission that was in effect and how that works in relation to the plan for the trees that we have. The city of Youngstown had a Shade Tree Commission that was enacted in our ordinances, chapter 155. That basically has very little force and effect at this point because the Park and Recreation Commission, which was the administrative entity that ran the parks at that time, was eliminated through a charter amendment, and those duties fell to the administration. So while we are vested with the authority to have a Shade Tree Commission by the revised code under Title 715.20, we would have to amend that ordinance to make that effective. Subsequent to that opinion that I issued to the park director and the chair of this committee, we had a meeting on February 11th. It's the working group that's dealing with the tree issue. And they have a really good and very large framework for what they want to do with trees. That was parsed down at that meeting, and it's an ongoing project, but I think that they are definitely on the right path and within their authority. As a part of that, I think that we will be enacting the ordinance that basically reestablishes in some form the Shade Tree Commission, and however that will be named, because the city has the authority to regulate the planting, maintenance of shade trees, shrubbery, and those type of things. And I think that the intent and the goal is that the park then administer that program. So I think that we are well underway. I think that once the nuts and bolts of what is desired with the help of Ms. Lewis from ODNR and Community Legal Aid and the other entities that were involved there, it will be my turn to then make sure that we're in compliance with our other ordinances, that we address all the ordinances in the revised code that deal with trees and maintenance, because there are several besides just those park ones, and we want to make sure everything's in conformance and to make sure that we comply with the revised code. And I think it went much faster than we anticipated at that last meeting, and the community partners were all very knowledgeable about what cities could and could not do. Thank you.
Thank you, Dana, for that update. Again, that's an ongoing process, and Dana provides a lot of insight and organization for us to move forward. Do we have any questions from the committee or from the floor? No, great. So just a quick recap, what we'll do is we will plan work with Troy to get a meeting scheduled for First Energy to give us a broader update and overview of the Lake Bend, the River Bend project. That'll may happen as a council whole or in the Public Utilities Commission. We will hear from Don in regards to the hiring practices and how we as a city plan to deal with the issues that we faced last year during COVID. Hello?
Hey, how are you?
Is someone speaking or someone on mute? Off of mute? Okay. We will hear from Don about the hiring practices and how we are planning to be efficiently staffed to get our parks and rec responsible areas cleaned and mowed and organized in a timely manner, and what that hiring looks like now, and will we be prepared for the onslaught of spring? And then, of course, we will look at what are the plans for the individual parks. We have a specific question in regards to Falls Park from Councilman Oliver. Did I miss anything?
Hello?
Hello? Yes,
this is Eleanor Sip from Falls Playground.
Hi, Ms. Sip.
Okay, I was late getting in here. I don't know what happened, but I was wanting to, we really need some help at Falls Playground. And long ago, I don't know if you all remember, they had basketball courts and everything over at Falls. And one of the councilmen way back, they tore all that stuff down. And we have so many kids over here on the south side that our park is not adequate, but they do go to the playground. They go all the time and they use what we have. We need garbage can, our bathrooms and stuff don't work. We used to have the summer program over here long ago, but after they tore everything down, we don't have it. But we really need some help for Falls Playground.
Thank you, Ms. Sip. Councilman Oliver, you'd like to respond?
Yeah, through the chair. I didn't know if we wanted to do a brief recap of what Mr. Tarpley said, either yourself, Chairwoman, or Mr. Tarpley, but Mrs. Sip, we did address that issue with the park a little bit earlier before you got in the meeting. So I'm sure we'll have another meeting. But if Mr. Tarpley, I don't know if you would allow to reiterate what he said about Forest Park and other parks throughout the city, Chairwoman.
I will allow that. Mr. Tarpley, can you, thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am, I'll respond. Yes, ma'am, we have Falls Playground. As a matter of fact, we were actually going to do a site visit of Falls and several other parks on that side of town. But we had the snowstorm and we had to cancel that actual site visit. Falls Playground is part of a 213 revisioning plan that we are currently underway. So we will be going back out to Falls Playground to look at what is needed, what was here before, and what we can either revision, repurpose, or reclaim so that that park becomes another jewel. And I do remember the time that she's speaking of. So thank you, Madam Chairman, Councilman Oliver as well.
Thank you, Mr. Tarpley. So we will add Falls Park to the agenda for our next meeting, which brings us to that. We plan to meet on a monthly basis to continue moving this forward. We have a lot of community stakeholders and what we really are friends to our park system. So we want to continue to have the conversation and continue to provide you with information and allow you the opportunity to ask us questions and bring things like Falls Park and the state of the park to our attention. So we'll put that on the agenda, Councilman Oliver, and work with Don and the committee to get some things moving forward so we can have some actionable items on that for you, Ms. Sip, by our next meeting.
Thank you.
And you are welcome. You are welcome. I would like to propose that we tentatively pencil in maybe the fourth Friday of March around at 10 a.m. and I'll speak to my other committee members and council if we can make that our next meeting, which will be March 26th. We will come back to you with the answers to these questions and updates on the progress of the shade tree ordinance. With that, I want to say thank you to everybody that took the time out this morning and joined us for our Parks and Playground Committee update. And I will hear a motion to end the meeting here at 10:56 this morning.
Motion to adjourn.
Lauren, thank you, Mr. Oliver, for that second. We are adjourned. Thank you again, and we will see you shortly. Have a